She marched straight onto my land, her heels snapping against the loose gravel, each step sharp and aggressive. The bright red suit she wore looked like a flashing warning sign against the quiet landscape. "You have exactly 24 hours to tear this down," she shrieked, shoving a thick stack of papers toward my face. I didn't flinch. I didn't step back. I simply folded my arms and met her glare, my boots planted solidly on the soil I'd sacrificed years to finally own. Just behind her stood a police officer, baton resting in his hand. He looked uneasy, like he knew something wasn't right, but his stance made it clear whose side he'd chosen. "This is my land," I said evenly, keeping my voice controlled but edged with steel. "I moved here last week. You don't get to come here making demands." Her lips tightened, eyes narrowing into slits. "I am the HOA president of this community," she snapped. "You're violating our regulations. You can't build anything here without our approval." I nearly laughed. Our approval? My closest neighbor lived over half a mile away. There was nothing around us except the half-finished log cabin, the silver SUV I'd driven across the country, and the calm lake shimmering quietly behind us. "You're trespassing," I said, my tone rising just enough to be clear. "This cabin, this land, and even that dock out there, all of it belongs to me." The cop stepped closer, tightening his grip on the baton. "Sir, it would be in your best interest to cooperate. She has authority here." My heart thudded in my chest, but I didn't let it show. "Authority?" I scoffed. "Show me a law that gives her the right to threaten me on my own property." The woman smirked like she'd already won. "You think you're smart, but this isn't over. If this construction isn't cleared by tomorrow, the HOA will seize it. You'll be left with nothing but scrap wood." I took a slow step toward her, lowering my voice. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." For just a second, doubt flickered across her face. Then she straightened her shoulders and turned sharply toward the officer. "Make sure he understands. Arrest him if you have to." My fists clenched at my sides. They thought I was just some clueless newcomer. They had no idea that I didn't just own this land, I controlled something far more valuable. The lake itself. Every dock their million-dollar homes depended on. And soon, they were going to learn exactly how badly they'd miscalculated. The next morning, I was up before sunrise, stacking logs and working on the cabin as if nothing had happened. The lake was completely still, reflecting the mountains like polished glass. The peace shattered when tires crunched against gravel. 3 black SUVs rolled in, dust billowing behind them. The woman from yesterday stepped out first, Karen this time, flanked by 3 men in suits and another police officer. She looked smug, like she owned everything she could see. "Well," she said sweetly, pulling out her phone to record. "Looks like someone didn't listen. By order of the HOA, this illegal structure will be removed today." One of the suited men headed straight for my tools, reaching for my chainsaw. I stepped directly in front of him. "Touch that," I growled, "and you'll regret it." Karen laughed like I just entertained her. "You don't have any power here. We run this lake. You're nobody." I tilted my head thoughtfully. "That's interesting. Because last month, the county transferred lake rights to me, which means every dock in this community, including yours, is sitting on my property." Her smile collapsed. "You're lying." "Am I?" I pulled a folded document from my back pocket and held it up. "This says I control the water line, the docks, and the boat slips you charge residents for." I paused, letting the silence stretch. "So, technically, you've been trespassing since you arrived." The men in suits exchanged uneasy looks. Even the cop shifted his weight. Karen's face flushed crimson. "That's impossible. The HOA has always controlled the docks." "Not anymore," I replied calmly. "The previous owner sold the rights when he moved to Florida." "Guess he got tired of your reign," she snapped. Lunging forward, she tried to snatch the papers from my hand. I stepped back just in time, watching her stumble on the gravel. "Careful," I said with a smirk. "Wouldn't want you falling into my lake." The officer finally spoke. "Ma'am, if his documents are legitimate, the situation could become very serious. You might want to know." She screeched, cutting him off. "I don't care what he claims. Tear it down." The 3 men hesitated, unsure. That's when I played my next card. "You might want to rethink that," I said, pulling out my phone. I just contacted a friend at the county office. She's on her way with the real sheriff. Karen froze. The real sheriff? Oh yeah, I said, smiling slowly. And when he arrives, we're going to talk about who's been breaking the law. Fear finally crept into her eyes, but she wasn't done yet. She spun around and shouted, "Block the road. No one comes in or out until we finish this." My pulse raced. She was escalating. What she didn't realize was that she'd already stepped straight into my trap. Her men rushed to obey, dragging thick logs across the narrow gravel road leading to my property. Wood scraped loudly against stone, echoing through the morning stillness. Karen turned back to me, satisfied. No one gets in. No one gets out. By the time your sheriff arrives, this place will be gone. I forced myself to stay calm. You're making a serious mistake, Karen. Blocking a public access road is a federal offense. Not if nobody reports it, she sneered, stepping close enough for me to smell her heavy perfume. You really think anyone here will choose you over me? I own this community. I let out a low chuckle. You don't own it. You just intimidate people into obedience. I leaned closer. But I'm not afraid of you. Her confidence flickered then hardened. We'll see. Boys, take his tools and start dismantling the frame. A broad-shouldered man with a shaved head moved toward my cabin. That's when I whistled sharp and loud. From behind the trees near the shoreline, an engine roared to life. A large fishing boat tore across the lake toward the docks. On board stood a woman in a county uniform, and beside her, a tall man wearing a brown sheriff's jacket. Karen's eyes flew wide open. What is this? I folded my arms, wearing the calm smile of someone who had already seen the endgame. Meet Sheriff Daniels, I said, nodding toward the boat gliding into the dock. And the woman beside him is the county's water rights supervisor. She's here to finalize what you've been pretending doesn't exist. The men who moments earlier had been ready to dismantle my cabin froze where they stood, bravado draining from their faces. Even the officer who had backed Karen the day before shifted away. Suddenly uncertain, the boat bumped against the dock and Sheriff Daniels stepped off, his boots striking the wood with a heavy, commanding thud. His presence alone altered the atmosphere, like a storm cloud rolling in. Karen Miller, he called out sharply, voice echoing across the lake. Step away from this man's property. Color drained from her face. Sheriff, thank God you're here, she said quickly. Arrest this trespasser immediately. He's violating HOA. Daniels cut her off with a raised hand. You don't seem to understand the situation, ma'am, he said coldly. The county transferred full lake and dock rights to Mr. James Carter last month. He pointed directly at me. This man is the lawful owner. You are the one trespassing. Karen staggered back as if struck. No, that's not possible. I've managed these docks for years. The water rights supervisor stepped forward, lifting a clipboard stacked with documents. It's all documented here, she said firmly. And there's more. Mr. Carter's property line extends 30 feet beyond where you're standing. You've been illegally collecting dock fees for months. Gasps rippled through the small group of neighbors gathered along the road. Karen's mouth trembled before snapping shut. This is a setup, she shouted. He's lying. Sheriff, you can't let this happen. Enough. Daniels barked, his patience gone. Karen Miller, you are under investigation for fraud, extortion, and unlawful seizure of property. Her eyes darted wildly, and then she made a fatal mistake. Grab the papers. She screamed at her men. Don't let them take everything from us. The burly man lunged toward me, but I was already moving. In one smooth motion, I pulled a small device from my back pocket, a key fob with a single red button. You might want to reconsider, I said evenly, my thumb hovering. The man froze. What does that thing do? Karen demanded, panic cracking her voice. I smiled. Let's just say it controls a lot more than my boat lifts. Then I pressed it. A thunderous series of metallic echoes rolled across the lake as heavy mechanical locks slammed shut. One by one, every dock gate snapped closed, trapping the HOA members' luxury boats in place. Karen's jaw dropped. What did you do? I leaned closer, lowering my voice to a whisper sharp as steel. Welcome to my lake, Karen. The rules just changed. The docks rattled as the locks fully engaged, deep clunks echoing across the water. Onlookers gasped, phones shooting up to record. Dozens of boats worth hundreds of thousands were now completely immobilized. Karen spun toward me, terror and fury twisting her face. "You can't do this," she screamed. "Those boats belong to HOA members. I'll sue you into oblivion." I brushed my hands together calmly and met her stare. "No," I said quietly. "You did this. You've been extorting everyone here for years. Fake FEs, threats, intimidation. Today, it stops." Sheriff Daniels stepped beside me, hand resting on his holster. "And if you or your men interfere again," he warned, glaring at her cronies, "you'll be arrested immediately." Her men didn't argue. Slowly, they backed away, leaving Karen alone on the gravel, shaking like a trapped animal. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "This isn't over. I'll take you to court." All the water supervisor interrupted, raising a thick folder. "Actually, it is over. We've collected complaints for months. Thanks to Mr. Carter, we now have proof. You'll be charged with fraud, embezzlement, and illegal property seizure." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Someone shouted. Finally, another yelled, "About time." Karen's face went ghost white. She stepped back, realizing escape was impossible. When she tried to bolt, Sheriff Daniels was faster. He caught her wrist and snapped the cuffs on with a sharp, metallic click. "You're finished, Karen," he growled. "And you're paying back every cent you stole." The crowd burst into cheers as Karen screamed and thrashed, but it didn't matter. I stood still, letting the moment settle. The people who had once been too afraid to speak now stood tall, recording everything. An older man approached me, eyes wet. "James, we didn't know. We thought she really had power over us." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "That's how people like her survive," I said softly. "But the truth is, the power was always yours. All it takes is one person willing to stand up." Sheriff Daniels guided Karen into the squad car. As it pulled away, the rising sun cast golden light across the lake. "It felt like a beginning," someone shouted. "What about the docks?" I lifted the key fob high. "They belong to all of us now," I announced. "No more fake FEs. No more threats. This lake is free." The crowd roared. And for the first time since arriving, I felt like I truly belonged. As celebrations continued, I turned to Daniels with a smirk. "Funny thing," I said, watching the squad car vanish. "She thought she controlled me because I was new. She never realized I'd been planning this for months." He chuckled. "Looks like she underestimated the wrong man." I gazed over the sparkling water, my cabin standing proud behind me. "She came for my land," I said. "But I took her kingdom." I pressed the button once more. The locks released. Boats drifted free as laughter filled the air while somewhere far away, Karen sat in a jail cell, powerless at last.